Hey, Ron.
Hey, G, how are you doing?
Not too bad. Hope everybody had a wonderful lunch. So, next up on the agenda is our second half of the interview that Ron and I did with Dan Bricklin.
hmm
We still talk a little bit about the VisiCalc days, but then we kind of end the session with some of the future things that he's done and kind of get his grasp on where he thinks the future's headed. So, should
hmm
be interesting.
I was really surprised to hear him say that he thinks that the future of spreadsheets is imaginary numbers, but I guess
Well,
people will have to, yeah, they'll have
yeah,
to watch the presentation to find out more.
exactly. So let's get started, and I guess we'll run it's about 45 minutes long, maybe a little longer, but yeah. And then again, just to mention, he will not be here for questions, but if anybody has any questions, throw them in the Discord channel from yesterday, and we will see if he'll answer them for us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to part 2 of our interview with Dan Bricklin. As if you watched part 1, if you haven't seen it, definitely go back and watch part 1. There was a lot of the early history of starting things with VisiCalc and the Apple II and all of that. It's an interesting conversation. It's definitely worth your time to check that out. But we've got some additional questions for you, Dan. Do you have a little bit more time to spend with us?
Yeah.
Awesome. Jay, why don't you get us started?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Ron. So Dan, there's a saying that I don't care what it was designed to do. I want to know what it will do. That was a quote from the old Apollo program. Were there any businesses that adopted VisiCalc in ways that you hadn't imagined and used it for things that you hadn't imagined?
So many. I mean, I knew it was general purpose, but oh my God, we had cards in the binder. It tell us what you're going to do with it. And one of the first ones that came back, I think, was something like anesthesiology calculations for open heart surgery or something.
Wow.
Don't tell our insurance agent. The first person who got a paid copy, Al Snyder, may he rest in peace, worked for Laventhal and Horvath, which was an accounting firm. And as I understand it, one of the things they used it for was calculating the best mix of slot machines to put where on the floor of a casino. Okay. There are, Apple wanted to make sure that it'd be usable for doing checkbook calculations, which is why we showed that on the reference card, and this is, which reference card is this? Here's a TRS-80 Model 1 reference card, and stuff like that, and shows electric payee, checks, deposits, and stuff like that. And this showed you, what the screen looked like. And
Wow.
I took these pictures using my camera, with a long exposure, because we didn't have screenshots in those days.
No.
So there were just so many we found out that people would use it for. It was there's a movie that came out. I think I have a copy of the VHS tape. Night Shift or something with John Travolta or somebody, or I don't remember who.
Or it's
But it was
Henry Winkler.
Henry Winkler was in
Henry
it,
Winkler,
or something, right? And he worked in a morgue or something, and he ran a business that was a brothel or something like that.
Yes.
And he used VisiCalc. Our first time in the movie. Well, I guess that's what it was designed for. So, for running a small business. So,
those entrepreneurs.
Yeah. There's so many stuff. Well, you never know with your products. When I designed my demo program, which basically let you, on a character-based screen, be able to paint all the characters that you wanted to make it look like a screen, and you could, draw lines and stuff because it had line drawing characters in the IBM PC. And then whenever you hit a key, you could say, go to this other screen, and it would switch smoothly enough. It looked like the program was running, so you could demonstrate a program and stuff. So it was used for prototyping all sorts of things. But, probably a lot of the screens when you go to a hotel or motel and you see them using, those were prototyped using demo. But it also was used, UPS, I think, used it. for prototyping their the handhelds that they were using for that, and it was used for actual fighter planes to mock up the displays on fighter planes. I mean, who would have thought of all the stuff that your software can be used for if you build a general purpose tool? So spreadsheets are just so many different things. That's one of the beauties of it. One of the problems is that people don't, if you don't show them their actual thing, they may not get it. They don't know it's a general purpose tool. It's a certain type of person can look at a general purpose tool and say, I can apply it this way. Other people, once they have the tool, are really good at it. Okay. I mean, they're different skill sets. And so that's the thing of, so you would show them your normal demo and they, and then it said, well, what business are you in? Oh, you're in that business. Well, here's a spreadsheet just like the one I showed you, but it has the labels, you could use it for that, So that's the whole thing about these general purpose tools, is learning that people can use it for what they want. I wrote an article that you can find on the web called when the long tail wags the dog, and it's about it's about software, and it's about it's on my website on bricklin.com, my writing. And what it did was, and actually I think if you said something about long tail wags the dog, it came up #1 in Google for many years. It basically said if something's general purpose and you learn that it's general purpose, there's a whole area that you'll use it for, even if it's not the best thing for it, but you'll use it because and that'll beat out all sorts of other tools because somebody knows this tool so well. So people used even VisiCalc, they used it for word processing. Well, at least one book was written using it.
Wow.
I mean, and because if you know the tool, you use it. It was a book about spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's pretty amazing. You talked in the first part of the interview about how that there was a lot of sort of like influence and stuff that other people they pulled from VisiCalc for their products and stuff, and some of it went places and some of it didn't go places. But was it always sort of a friendly rivalry?
Everybody learned from other people. I mean, whatever the intellectual property laws were, whatever. And you don't steal the actual code. You might read it to learn about it, but you don't copy it per se. And but in fact, the whole idea of coding it, recoding the same thing, but recoding it gives you the variations that you get, like genetic variations in evolution and stuff like that. You have that same thing that if I implement the same thing that you do, but don't copy you exactly, it may get in a better place or a worse place. And that's how we find out new things. So we all look for inspiration where we can. And it was all just, advancing as much as we could. But it was a smaller world back then.
Yeah.
So it was, and the money stuff wasn't the same, and it's cutthroat. And a lot of people were in it because they believed in computers were good, could be used for good. They could be used for bad, but they could be used for good. And that we wanted to make this tool that we loved available to others to be able to do things that they loved. And, you can read about that, the hippies and stuff like that. And, the West Coast hippies. Well, we were East Coast. I was in the Boston area. I slept in the mud at Woodstock. When I went to Harvard Business School the first year, I had a ponytail down to here. All the way down, it was, I cut my hair right before I went. This is when I was starting to think about VisiCalc. I went cross country with my girlfriend. We went camping, cross country camping. She's now still my wife. And she, I had seen Easy Rider. And I knew people who had hitchhiked across the country and had people come after them with tire irons and stuff like that.
I was going to say, just watch it, just not the last 5 minutes. It's fine.
Don't
ends on a real high note.
I mean,
don't watch the last 5 minutes.
No, but what about Nicholson?
That's true.
Oh,
That is
yeah.
And he won an Oscar for that.
hmm
And I remember seeing Easy Rider with my friend who had just come back from doing that, who had people run after him. And he freaked when he saw that movie. He was, oh my God, oh man. Because he had just gone cross country and had people run after him. But so I figured I should cut, if I'm going to cut my hair, I should cut it before I go cross country. So I cut it before. So when I went to Harvard Business School, I had hair all the way down, was the hippie-ish type. But I worked at Digital Equipment Corporation. I went to MIT. I went to Harvard Business School. Very, the elite whatever schools where whatever. I had I worked for Digital Equipment Corporation, the largest mini computer manufacturer, one of the dominant computing manufacturers. So I had been in the commercial world quite a bit. Bob came out of working for a large time-sharing company and early in computers. And his father was an entrepreneur and importer of electronic stuff and things. So we came from real business, not just hippy dippy whatever. We came from that world and applied those things, but we were of the 60s and we wanted to make the world better, and we did.
Yeah.
I believe we did.
I think you did too. So,
Yep.
hmm
so what was your favorite memory from working on VisiCalc? Or do you have a favorite memory?
No, I don't know what's the favorite. I mean, there are many different, there were just many different times. Working on it, there's one which I talk about in that video, the TED video you can look at, about using it in class for the first time, and which was pretty cool, but without telling anybody why it was. And it was a great ride. It really was a great ride. And, a major one, when I saw that Wall Street Journal review, that was a big thing. When I saw a comic in the newspaper where if you didn't know what a spreadsheet was, you wouldn't get the joke, and you were supposed to know what it was. Okay. Now it was Foxtrot. So in hindsight, how would I have known that, that is a little advanced. And I have a granddaughter who has twice gone to Comic-Con to be able to get signed things from the guy who draws Foxtrot. She's a Foxtrot.
Oh, wow.
Aficionado. So so there are things like that. That were, speaking in front of large groups and stuff like that. Large group, speak in front of 100 people, and that's pretty cool. I've spoken in front of thousands of people, and that's pretty cool too. It's not, is it that many times better? No. It's different. If you haven't done it, I've got to meet all sorts of people because of it. I mean, I had dinner with Steve Jobs alone. I've driven Bill Gates in my car, and he's driven me in his car. I've shared a limo with him, and others, and other, stories like that. I got to, shake hands with the president, and stuff, because they wanted to send me to some conference, because I was in the organization, and I got to go to whatever. So I got to meet people I wouldn't have gotten to meet otherwise. So it's been cool. And here it is, what do you say, 45 years later or whatever, and people are still asking for me to talk about it.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that was involved. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Anybody on our side. Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought it would be still this many years later that there was this thing called Excel, that if you press the same /IR, it would insert a row just like a VisiCalc, the slash. And it's that they teach it in school. Remember, one of my daughters said, "Daddy, did they teach spreadsheeting when you were in school?" And then she said, "Oh, second, she'd forgotten, whatever." There, she's learning.
It was on
in grade school. In grade school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
she was learning how to use Excel. So
Yeah.
Well, as you talk about how much things have changed over the years, if you were designing VisiCalc today, would you do anything differently?
I don't know. Given the constraints, would have tried to do variable column width and stuff like that. I would have tried to patent it, and stuff like that. Is that good? I don't know. I mean, is it good that we had one? Would have been bad if we didn't have 1, 2, 3? I don't know. For the world. For me, yeah, maybe. Though Mitch has been good and has invested in various companies that I founded since. He lost money on those, but there it goes. It's I'm still here and I had a really good life. So I don't know if I'd want to do things that much differently. I don't want to disturb something that worked out well.
Okay, so do you still use spreadsheets today? And if so, what's your go-to tool?
I will use Excel.
Okay.
I have to use Sheets periodically because Sheets is used for a lot of sharing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But since I have Office on my machines, why not use Excel? I know Excel. I've done expert witness work for Microsoft, and in patent lawsuits and stuff. So I got to know a little better. I've implemented more spreadsheets since. There's a thing called VisiCalc that ran on. It's a spreadsheet written in JavaScript that I wrote that ran on the one laptop per child. And I had learned enough of Excel to be able to make it compatible in certain ways with Excel and stuff like that to work in a similar way. But I'm not a heavy spreadsheet user. I'm not. I use it when I need to, So.
Well, what advice would you give to modern software entrepreneurs? Especially those people looking at emergent technologies like AI and quantum computing. And
well, you have to figure out what the thing is good for. What is it good for? What is it not good for? And what does it let you do you couldn't do before? And what can it do much, much better than you would do it before? 100 times better. A spreadsheet was 100 times better than doing it by hand, right? A personal computer was much better for doing something like a spreadsheet, okay? But it wasn't very good for certain other things in those days. The Apple II. The Apple II was perfect for using VisiCalc. But if I had to do heavy duty calculations, let's say, calculating for an LLM to do the whatever, Apple II wasn't very good for something like that, It wasn't good for doing realistic graphics and stuff like that. But it was good enough for certain types of games, but not others. And so figuring out what is the technology really good for, and that's what I did when I did the app for the Note Taker HD for the iPad. Is I thought, well, one of the things you want to do with this, it's a pad, you're going to want to write on it. Unfortunately, you only have input of a finger or maybe something that pretends it's a finger. They didn't have the pen in those days. So, but you can write real big and you can shrink it down and you could use it for writing because that's what you want to be able to do is do handwriting. Not recognizing that's because you're drawing something, you're putting things here and there. And next thing I know, all these medical students are taking their notes with my product. Unfortunately, when I made a release and then went on vacation, and there was a bug in it, within hours, people in Germany are saying, "Hey, there's a bug, and we have to go to medical school tomorrow. Can you fix the bug?" And there I am, stuck in the lobby of some hotel, who knows where I can get Wi-Fi to be able to fix the bug and send it in. It's so you what is it good for? What is it better at? And try to figure that out. And what do you like? What do you know? I was an MBA student learning about all sorts of different parts of business. Okay. It was, so I got to see it could be used for this. It could be used for that. It could be used for that. Now, is it reasonable to use a computer for this? Well, people use it. One of the visitors that came to speak to us worked in shipping, international shipping, those big ships. Was LNG, liquefied natural gas and stuff like that. And it turned out that he did calculations on an HP 70 whatever calculator, programmable calculator. He used that to do calculations for helping to figure out about ships. I had a classmate who was had been a member of from his country. He was part of OPEC, and he would go to the OPEC meetings, the petroleum people. And he had been actually kidnapped by Carlos at one point when there was a kidnapping of the OPEC meeting once. And he said that sure enough, OPEC, when they were trying to figure out if they changed the price of oil, they had financial models that ran on computers. They used computers for it. They had a projection television. It was an Advent projection television in those days. And they connected by long distance from Europe to Chicago or something to some control data computers to run the simulations that they used to decide what is it going to do to the international finance when they change different things about oil. So they did that. So they do use computers. The people who could use it do. And then there was a moment where I went to hear Ross Perot speak. Now this is after VisiCalc came out, and Ross Perot ran this company. It was EDS.
EDS, yeah,
one of the largest consulting firms on using computing. They had access to everything, right? And I got to talk to some of the people there, some of the senior managers, and they said, "Oh yeah, VisiCalc. Do you know that when we were doing some big financial type of thing we had to do, we were in our hotel room with an IBM PC and VisiCalc. They had access to everything, yet they were using my program." When apparently what I heard from Don Estridge, who was the head of the IBM PC project, may he rest in peace, when he did a demo that he was going to have VisiCalc to the head of IBM and said, "Look, it's going to have this program called VisiCalc. Here's how it works." Head of IBM said, "I know how to use it," and sat down with. Okay, that's the story that I remember. That's pretty cool when you hear stuff like that. And I'm lucky. I'm really lucky. I was the right person at the right time. A better programmer may have done it differently. It may not have been as good for real people, who knows? And there were other calculating products at the time. The marketing worked, they did a good job, a good enough job, that's for sure, of marketing to be able to get it out. In terms of, and some of the companies, Radio Shack and others, marketed it right and stuff. So things worked out, and that I think helped the world. When I started hearing about nonprofits who were using spreadsheet, how a church could do stuff that they couldn't do otherwise because they had VisiCalc, really good.
So, Dan, if you could go back to 1979 and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't get sued. Which was
that's a good advice.
Yeah, no, this is that's a whole other story I don't want to get into.
No,
fair enough.
Fair enough.
It took the two companies down. They decided they didn't want to. I don't know. There's a whole. Don't ask me. There's a whole sad type of relationship where they were trying to get. They didn't want to pay what they needed to pay us. We were willing to sell the company to them for a certain amount of money, and they wouldn't take that amount. They wanted us to cut our rates that we got by less. And it turned out in the next year, they paid us in payments they made to us more than that. And the year after that, more than that. And it was a real mess. And it ended up that we ended up in lawsuits. We ended up winning in terms of we were, in front of a judge, and it was clear the judge was going to find in our favor. And then the judge just didn't do anything, but clear we were going to win, and they weren't going to win. And both companies ended up, selling out, selling off to not making money out of it. So, or not much. So that was anything I could have done to not do that. I did a lot of things right. I asked the right person to marry me, things like that.
Me too.
Good.
Finally, Dan, looking at the evolution of personal computing, what excites you most about where technology is headed?
I don't know. I mean, I'm very, I'm excited about, VR, AR, or AR especially, and stuff like that. I have a Vision Pro over there, and I like it, but I didn't write any software for it yet because I haven't figured out what I can make really good software for that would be today yet that I want to spend the time on. Though there are a lot of interesting things to do. But I'd love to watch real-time sports on it. And it's got some really good stuff to look at. I mean, now I know that when I'm old and sitting around in the old age home, whatever, I'm going to be able to go on trips to all sorts of cool places, and it will be really cool because I can do it now. So different user interfaces, interest me. There are things with AI type techniques, and I don't necessarily mean LLMs, that clearly have been helping us. I mean, we've been taking for granted AI stuff. When any camera you point at something, it finds the person. It's been doing that for years. Well, that's machine vision. We just assume, machine learning and stuff like that, and LLMs that they have opened up all sorts of other areas. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more than that. It's a step along the way. So wearables, love that type of right. I keeps track of my heart rate and all that when I exercise and stuff like that. And so it's it helps my 98-year-old mother, who is, has all sorts of cognitive issues and all, but she's far away from me, but I talk to her on FaceTime every night, and she'll often say, it's like you're here. It really works in terms of that. And she plays solitaire, which she loves to play solitaire. She does other things and all, but she says it's pretty mindless. You can just, if you know how to do it. And it's solitaire has been a real lifesaver for her over the last many years. Mm-hmm. And I used to work with Russ Werner, who was at Microsoft on, I think he did Windows 3 was under him. And he made the decision to put solitaire in Windows. And that was like, thank you, Russ. Because it was helping, I mean, there are so many things which we're going to have. I assume I'm going to have a companion of some sort that's going to probably be robotic or something when I'm sitting there, if I'm lucky enough to last that long.
Well, thank you so much, Dan.
You're welcome.
This was great.
Hey, sorry it's so long. Oh my God, yes.
Oh no, that's okay. Yeah. That's fine. Where can folks find you online?
Well, let's see, I'm on Mastodon. I forget what I am on Mastodon. I can tell you, I'm on Blue Sky, and I have Bricklin.com, but I don't post much there. So that's. But you can read stuff on Bricklin.com. Maybe I'll resurrect that at some point.
Great.
Yeah. So I mean, you can find, if you search on Dan Bricklin, you'll probably find me on Mastodon, and the same thing on Blue Sky for now. But who knows where we're going to be, right?
That's true. Stuff changes.
Yeah, Dan B51 on Blue Sky .social. So I don't know.
Okay, I'll add you up.
Okay. Yeah.
So, Dan, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. I hope people enjoy the conference and keep those old things alive.
Mm-hmm.
And
we'll do our best.
Hey, it's.
I have a sealed copy of VisiCalc downstairs. It's still in the shrink wrap. I got to go find it.
Yeah. And go to the museums. The computer museums. There's the one out in California.
CHM. I want to get there so
bad. Please go there. It's wonderful. I went there. We were out a year or so ago. We were out in California about a year ago, and my wife loved it. We had a tour and stuff like that, and she's not a techie at all. And then there's another one that's it's the MIMS Museum of Science and Technology or something, no, technology and art, I think, or something in Atlanta, outside of Atlanta, the MIMS Museum. It used to be called, it was a computer museum down there, but look out, Computer Museum Atlanta. They have an incredible collection of big old computers.
Nice.
You walk there, I say it feels like you're at Westminster Abbey, where you have all those famous people buried. You know, it's really there. You walk there, and there's a Cray and another type of Cray, and there's a Silicon Graphics, and there's this, and they have an Apple One, and they have a this, and they're going to have an Apple. They're going to have an Apple exhibit of that's going to have a history of Apple, all with their own stuff, not from Apple.
Oh, nice.
That they hope to have. They hope to have next year.
That's really good.
Together.
Walls, we actually have one here in New Kensington. I live right outside of Pittsburgh here in Pennsylvania. It's called the Large Scale Systems Museum. They got a DEC 10 there. They have a PDP-8. They have a PDP-11. And it's working, and you can actually go in and
try that.
Try
those things. But look at some of these old collections, to look at the handiwork of all these people, all these water-cooled computers, and all these. I mean, it looks like they're all these old standing up. I mean, we're talking about rows and rows of control datas and DEC machines, and there's a real original Enigma machine they have there.
Oh, nice.
Oh wow! The collector who put this together, MIMS, is really something.
Oh, yeah.
And so, if you're in Atlanta, it's I think in Roswell or something, just north of Atlanta.
Yeah.
There's this MIMS Museum, MIMMS.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, take care.
Well, hold on 1 second. We'll wrap this up real fast. Don't forget, head over and check out Dan's website at bricklin.com. If you're on Blue Sky or Mastodon, be sure to look him up there as well. And Dan, thank you so much for spending time with us today. We really do appreciate it. I know that the people at the conference have been waiting with a lot of anticipation for this interview, and we certainly appreciate you doing this extended segment with us.
Good. Well, I hope they got what they needed. Okay.
Oh, I'm sure they would. I'm sure they did. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dan. Bye. All righty. That was the interview.
It was fun. It was. I had a really good time. There was some stuff that we kind of trimmed on either end, because I think we did like a 10 or 15 minute pre-interview, just sort of like gab session. And it was like, oh, this is so good. So like adding questions to make sure that we covered some of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Originally. Yeah.
That's a very interesting man with a very interesting history, and he's not done yet.
No. He's got lots of fun stuff to contribute yet. So
yep.
Very cool.